Well, Shero, mid-70s, and I think you'd done a westabout on Banjo Patterson, the West Coaster.
That's correct.
And then another character, I believe, got in touch with you, Mr. MIckleborough.
Yes.
To offer you some, maybe a job or a sailing experience. Tell us about that, because that led to a lot of good times, I'm sure.
It did. Very, very. I just finished with my first term of in Southeast Asia, so I was a free agent, and so after the westabout race with Banjo, I bumped into MIckleborough and Stan Darling, and they said, any chance if you've got a bit of spare time you'd be interested in going to across to New Zealand on Ballyhoo for Jack Rooklyn, because they're just a little bit short of crew, and also they were having a few mechanical problems and things on the boat. And I said yes, I was available. So I jumped on board and went across, and then we did that Rothman series over there, as you well know, and had another great time. But that led to bigger things when they asked me would I be interested in staying with the boat. And of course, yes, I just tidied up my arrangements, and then we went off then for nearly 2 years of just marvellous sailing.
On Ballyhoo with Jack. Well, there's a famous boat and a famous character, but I just take you back to New Zealand. I mean, it was a great series over there. I think we raced against Kealoha, and then you went on from there, I believe. Did you do the Transpac that year?
No, that was the previous year.
The previous year, right.
There was Kealoha and Passage over there, and of course Buccaneers. So that the racing was pretty good for New Zealand in those days. 70. So that was 76. So then the boat went from there to Hong Kong, and we did the China Sea race. So, and we got line honours in the China Sea race.
So you and Stan Darling were the sort of the permanent two in charge, basically.
Yes. Don Tracy was with us for a while, and Lou Dale. Toby Richardson came across to New Zealand, and then we had the Thriller in Manila when the Calf joined us, and a crew of great characters who stayed with the boat. So we had the Moose from Hawaii, and David Burke was still dear David with us. So we had a nucleus of really great people to travel with.
So tell us about Jack Rooklyn. I mean, you could write a book about Jack. But
you could.
You obviously got on well with him and stayed the boat for a long while.
Yeah, but we actually saw very little of him. He just flew in for the races, and then occasionally did parts for the trips back. But he was a good bloke. He was in his moments when he was talkative. You got some very good stories out of Jack. And of course, he was supplying a beautiful boat for a lot of sailors to enjoy very competitive racing. We went from, after we had to slip the boat in Manila, and there was a few cracks in the hull that had need to be attended to, and then we went up to Japan as guests of the Nippon Ocean Racing Club, and caught up with a few of the old crews that had come down from the Hobart. Lovely get together, and then went to Hawaii for the around the state race, which we got line honours in around the state race. Caught up with the burglars again, and from there this is 1976, there to the west coast. We slipped the boat again and did a bottom job, and we had to sail against Kealoha for the California Cup. Now, Kealoha at that stage of the game was the world champion maxi racing yacht, and but for the Cal Cup, Ballyhoo was successful. We were successful because Ballyhoo, on a triangular course, as you know, was a very, very close-winded boat, and it really had the hammer on the Kealoha big catch rig, and so that was a very good experience, and that was a party after we'd won that California Cup, I can tell you. I met my first live film star at the California Yacht Club. And he assured me that the little trick of O. McDonald had a farm was the funniest thing he'd ever seen in a yacht club.
Well, I won't ask you to do it now, but I'm very familiar with what you're saying. Yeah. But so who was the film star? Anyone of note?
Buddy Ebsen.
Oh, yeah.
From the Beverly Hillbillies. Gee, he was a lovely bloke, him and his family.
You didn't get any offers to do any Hollywood work over there? A lot of people reckon you look like David Niven. You could be a stand-in for David Niven.
No big offers.
But then when did it do the Fastnet? Did you do the Fastnet on
that
Ballyhoo?
Was the following year.
77.
We went on from the California Cup to San Francisco, the Big Boat Series, and we won that again. And that was against Kealoha and Passage and the other boats. And again, that was Ballyhoo's wonderful performance to windward, and being able to carry shy kites to great effect against the big catches. And after that series, you can remember that Windward Passage and Kealoha was converted to sloop rigs.
Yeah. Mm. But then, so you went through the Panama?
We came back from the States straight back to Sydney.
Oh, that's right, yes.
And then we did the 76 Hobart. And we got line honours, as you know, and which we were very pleased with. And then the following year we went to England. We took the boat to England.
Was it shipped across, or did you sail it across? You sailed it across?
We sailed it across.
Right.
Yes, we went round the bottom, and Jack and Bondi were talking about the chance of getting together on an America's Cup challenge at the time. So
that would have been something.
We were advised to go up to Yanchep, Sun City, to slip the boat, which I wasn't happy about, knowing that there'd be nothing left on the bottom by the time we got to England. But anyway, we did that. And guess what? Guess who was running Yanchep, Sun City? It just happened to be Sandy Schofield. So you reckon we didn't get into a bit of bother over there again?
Oh dear, small world.
Yeah, so then we went up to Cocos Island and up to Sri Lanka, and then across and up through the canal, through the Med.
Through the Suez, right?
Through the Suez, and then the Med to England for
the Fastnet, yeah.
Those Fastnet series, yeah. Mm.
Sher, I want to talk about two people that I know are very close to you. Firstly, the great and late Don MIckleborough.
Yes.
And I know you were very close to Don. You were part of the southerly crew for a long while. You did the 50th Hobart, I think, with Don, and you won your 30-year division, veteran division. Tell us about MIckleborough.
Well, I'd met him naturally years before, when I was living in Singapore, and we'd come up for Hobarts like at Athena and Serena, and those boats. Was John Jarrett knew him well, being one of the characters, and he was a legend even then, back in the 60s, Mickleborough, with his, the great
Antics.
floating hotel and his antics, and a really great character. But it wasn't until after, I think, well, it was about in the mid-60s when we all got together for a big party in Hobart, and Jacko and Dick Logan got a bit out of control, and
Unusual for those two.
And that was the year the woman was topping up the sugar bowls, and they grabbed the big sugar bowl and they got it and put it on my head and belted into shape with beer bottles, and that's the aluminium hat that I wore in Hobart for years and years, just as a bit of a gimmick. But you know, we became friends, and then naturally I'd catch up with him when I come back from Singapore and that. But Mickleborough was having a lot to do with the running of Ballyhoo in those days. So then, after I'd come back from Singapore, we got closer, and I used to help him a lot with his famous birthday parties each year, the oven treatment for and so then when I finished with Singapore and came back, Mickleborough said, "You better come sailing on Southerly," which I did, but I was also doing a bit of sailing out of the Sydney Amateurs as well on the old Mark Twain, which I'd sailed on previously, and Jim Lawler on Morning Tide. So then Mickleborough and I don't know, I think a bit of had like interests and tastes, and we did, of course, the trip over for the bicentennial in England for the America's Cup, which was a marvellous trip, and caught up with a lot of old friends over there. Great old mate, excellent bloke, enormous seaman. The 50th Hobart, we won that because of Mickleborough. There's no doubt about that. His tactics, he knew that east coast of Australia. Yeah. When that big blow came in and that big roll crowd, he said, "Right, go for it. Just head straight into it." And we thought he was off his brains. But we did that, and then of course as soon as it hit, we just flipped over onto the other tack and just cracked off, roaring down the east coast of Tassie.
Yeah, well, I think it gave the whole ocean racing fraternity certainly in Sydney a great thrill to see Mickleborough win that 30-year division and Kurtz win the 20-year division in Love and War. It was really, a thrill for the club and everyone to see those characters.
Yeah, big thrill.
Yeah. And Stan Darling, I know you got very close to Stan in those years with Ballyhoo, and I think you were, I guess, honoured that you collected Stan's Hall of Fame award last year for him, because he's long past. But tell us about Stan.
Oh, Stan was a very clever man, very gifted man, highly intelligent, wonderful manager of people. He had the responsibility, he was the captain of Ballyhoo, and had all the paperwork responsibility and management that way. But he had to handle everything from teenagers right up through to people like Mickleborough. And but he did that very, very capably, and he was an absolute delight to be involved with for the couple of years so close. He was lovely.
And an outstanding navigator, of course.
Wonderful navigator. It's too, we haven't got the time to go into some of his exploits, but he was phenomenal. And very knowledgeable. Like when we got to England, as you know, his knowledge of the tides and the way things worked in the Northern Hemisphere, extraordinary, yeah.
And Shero, these days you keep a big interest in the sailing still? I mean, you're actively at the club on a Thursday night in Mickleborough's Corner,
Yes,
I know that.
Yes,
So-
we like to try and keep the tradition going, the old southerly tradition.
But how do you see the sport these days? I mean, you've seen it through the 60s right till today. What do you think of the boats?
Well, I mean, it's like everything else in the modern world is changing so rapidly now you can hardly keep up to it. It's totally different to naturally what I did in my early days. But I still do some twilight races and Margaret Rintoul with Gouldy and Brooksy, and which is lovely, you know. It's good to keep just a little bit of sailing. The modern world of sailing, I think, is for modern people. It's a different world. They're all brilliant at what they're doing. I mean, it's outstanding. I sometimes wonder about how it's going to fit in. They're talking about having foilers doing a Hobart and all that sort of stuff, and I personally don't feel that sort of boat should be able to win on handicap in a boat like the Hobart. I feel that these development classes should be in separate divisions. I mean, they can always win line honours and first theirs.
And their division, yeah.
Yes, and their division. But I just fail to see how you can marry up ratings and that if it's going to fit in with Corinthian boats and these boats which are basically half flying, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. But a little spy tells me that you're coming out of retirement, you're doing the Sydney Hobart this year.
Definitely doing this. You've got to do the 75th Hobart, haven't you?
So tell us what sort of boat you're going on.
A brand new boat.
Really?
Yes, it's the newest boat in the Ponant fleet. Going down on a cruise liner.
Well, you're doing a Sydney Hobart, that's the main thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be my at 81 years of age, it'll be my last Hobart.
Terrific. Well, Shero, it's been great. Some wonderful memories there, some wonderful characters. It's great to see you going so well, and enjoy your trip to Hobart.
Thank you, Peter. I certainly will.